again, and welcome to another episode of Leading from Alignment with our good friend, coach, mentor, John Opalewski. How are you today, John?
Hey, Jim. I'm doing really well. Good to be with you today.
Right on. And we are welcoming back our guest. Would you like to introduce him?
Sure. We have back with us Chad Deerman. Chad pastors a wonderful church in West Branch, Michigan. I've known Chad for 8 years, and I think we've become friends. I believe we're friends. And I value his wisdom, his leadership, but more than anything, I value his friendship. And we're so delighted, Chad, that you carved out more time to be with us on Pod 137.
Thank
137.
You. Thank you for the opportunity. It's great to be here.
You know, have you ever hung out with people that you don't know, but they bring their kids along? By watching their kids, you kind of get to know a lot about the family. I got to tell you, when you extended the honor of speaking at your church, and John would agree with this, you have one of the funnest congregations to talk to I've ever been in front of.
That's right.
They were so engaged and so interactive and so responsive, and it was like feeding hungry people instead of trying to get a spoiled kid to take one more mouth of spinach. You know what I mean? And it was a blessing.
They love both of you guys. John just preached here Sunday, and did an outstanding job. Jim, since you were here, I'm telling, and I mean this. I mean, I've heard so much from the congregation about how much they enjoyed your speaking. Your humor is just, they loved it. And so I keep hearing, when are we going to have him back, kind of thing. So
right on.
Yeah, good. We'll have to talk, after the podcast.
Let me pray about that. Amen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. Come in. Good.
So I appreciate it, though, very much.
So, John, for those who didn't hear last week, maybe you should give us a little bit of a recap here on what we got last week in 136.
Yeah. So, Chad, if you could what I'd really love you to recap is your 550 approach to work. We were really talking about that as it relates to alone time work that you do, but can you just give us like the 50,000 foot view of the 550s from a work perspective, and then we're going to drill into something differently with that in your home life.
Well, I came across this the 550s from a man named Brendon Burchard. He's very well known. He's written many books. You could easily find him on YouTube. Matter of fact, you could probably type in 550 Brendon Burchard, and you would get this teaching. His would be a little different than how I use it, but it's wonderful material training. And so really it's working in 50-minute time blocks at a time, you without any distractions or disruptions, and you're using a timer on your phone, and you set it for 50 minutes and you push start and you work that whole time. It helps you to be laser focused on what you're doing for that 50-minute block, and you work the whole time. And then you'd get up after the alarm goes off, you get up and you would walk around, kind of stretch a little bit, get some water, some tea, coffee, talk to staff or whatever you need to do. Then you go back to your office and do another 50-minute time block. And so I try to do that at least 5 times a day here at the office, if I can. This does not include meetings. Meetings can go 2 hours, 3 hours. So, if we're in a staff meeting, this doesn't include that. I will use a 50-minute time block to prepare for the staff meeting.
That's interesting.
Or if I'm counseling somebody, I do a lot of premarital counseling, people I'm marrying, things like that. And so, but these time blocks have been just wonderful, 50 minutes, and it's really helped me in really get so much done to be able to handle this level of responsibility with this many people and ministries and staff and leaders. So I'm really glad I came across this material.
So can I do a quick lightning round with you? Questions? These are the questions that came up when you said that on the last podcast. What do you do with the 14 texts that came in during that 50 minutes? Is that part of your 10-minute break?
That's a great question. One thing that I will do is set a time for phone calls. I will do actually a 50-minute time block for emails, phone calls that I need to make. And I try to work that whole time, because there's been a few times where I would actually be working on something and get finished at about 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a discipline that I have, that I work the whole 50.
Right.
So usually things will pop up in my mind that I need to do, and I will just quickly adjust and work on something, until that alarm goes off. I try to work the whole 50. Now, I understand there are interruptions, that like an emergency that would happen, that you do have to, there's been a few times where somebody would come in and say, a missionary is here, or something, where I had to stop what I was doing to go do something else. But that is rare. That's rare that happens.
So the other thing is, your staff needs to get a hold of you. Or is it literally from 9 o'clock to 9:50 or 10 o'clock to 10:50, or is it any 50 minutes you choose? And how do they know not to interrupt that block of time? Like, if they need everybody just has one question. The problem is there's 40 of them and there's one of you. So if everybody bothers you once a day, you really ruined a day. So how do they, is there a sign that says, if you disturb me, be prepared to face a pastor who's disturbed? Or is it a sock on the door? Like, how do they know not to disturb you?
Well, everybody on staff is linked to the same, we all use Google Calendar. And so I expect all the staff, myself included, to fill those time blocks in before even the day begins. So I can pull up any calendar on my staff and know what they're doing. And so my staff sees my schedule. They know what's happening.
Gotcha.
And they've really learned when to approach, when not to. And of course, if there's an emergency, they would knock on the door or something like that. Also, my staff has learned that when my door is closed, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And when my door is open, they know that they can come in. So I do try to, at certain times of the day, I do try to leave my office door open.
We had a dear sweet gal who was a secretary here for 20 years, and she never interrupted me, because every time she interrupted me, she would just whisper. So I'm sorry. Can I ask you one question? Like, whispering doesn't mean that you're not interrupting me. And for 10 years, I don't care if you whisper or yell, you're interrupting me. The door was closed, Right. Good. Now I feel better just letting that out, honestly, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, that was a great question. Great question. Yeah.
Good.
So, Chad, one of the fascinating things to me, at least it's fascinating to me, I hope it'll be fascinating to our listeners and watchers, is that you use this idea of a 50 at home. How could you enlarge on that? That when I heard you talk about that you do a 50 at home, that was fascinating to me. How did that come from the same source, or did you just adapt what you were learning and apply it to that? Tell us about that. Unpack that for us.
Yeah. One of the challenges to implementing the 50s, whether you use it at work or you use it at home, is really thinking in advance what needs to be done for the week, or really for the month. And so sometimes it is difficult to not allow distractions and not checking, emails and Facebook and all those kind of things. And, so I've learned I have 5 acres of property. And so my wife and I, we love our home. We have 5 acres, decent sized house. We have an outdoor wood burner that heats our house. And so I have a tractor, and my driveway is 0.2 of a mile gravel.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of work that I have to do at home. And so being so busy here in ministry, there's so much. It's like, how do you do it all? How do you mow the yard, clean the garage, clean out your closet, cut all this wood? I burn 16 full cords of wood every year. So I cut that wood and stack it. And so how do we do all this? These 50-minute time blocks have been critical for me to use also at home. So one of the disciplines that I have is after work, I will go home, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. My wife and I will go home. We take about 30 minutes to drink a cup of coffee together and just kind of share the day with each other, what happened that day. And then I will get up, and I'm in a habit of doing one 50-minute time block after work.
Yeah.
And so I will, of course, think ahead what needs to be done. So whether it's cutting the grass, whether it's working on the tractor, whether it's cutting wood, splitting wood, stacking the wood, cleaning out the wood burner, I clean out my closet. I do something every day. It's a discipline I have. But we still have so much time in the evening. Again, I think the last podcast, John, you mentioned how much time we waste in our life and not even realizing it. And so I can go home and do one 50-minute time block. I'm done at 6 o'clock. Have dinner together as a family. You could actually use one of those time blocks. Maybe you want to use it to cook. You can use it to exercise. It doesn't have to be a project. You could do, maybe you were working so busy at the church, you didn't have time for prayer. Maybe after you could do a 50-minute time block in prayer in Bible study. You could do a 50-minute time block after work to prepare for the next day. So there's a variety of things you can do, but I think it's just being in the habit of do just 150. And I'm telling you, John, it has transformed. Now think about if I just did this 4 days a week, that's 4 hours of projects and work I'm doing at home before I even get to my day off.
Yeah.
Right.
And so much can be accomplished.
And Chad, we really wanted to ask you how that approach has impacted your day off, because I had a phone call. This was a couple of days ago, and this guy is a national leader. He said, "Chad, what is the thing that leaders push back on you the most? What's the one thing?" And I said, "It's taking a day off."
Yeah.
Number one thing. I mean, I have heard every excuse known to man. Only Jesus knows more excuses than I do about why leaders refuse this commandment that we're given to make the Sabbath a different day than the rest of the days of our week. And so I was wondering, Chad, does the 150 in the evening, does that take pressure off of your day off so that you can actually have a day off? Oh,
absolutely. And it's a good habit to be in, because I think, at least I can't speak for anybody else, I used to procrastinate. We tend to work on things that we enjoy.
Yeah, sure.
Knowing that there's still a lot of things that need to be done. And we just kind of procrastinate, put it off. And that really, even that itself is like a burden that's on you. You do feel that.
Yeah.
But I've learned to just, one of my favorite illustrations is a drop of water. Now, I want you guys to think about a drop of water. It's the same size, but it's consistent. Not any larger, not any smaller, just one drop of water. And if that water lands on a solid rock, over time, that water will begin to make an impression in that stone.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking, if a drop of water can make a difference on a solid rock, how much more can my life make a difference just by me being diligent? I really believe one of the keys to success is diligence.
Yeah.
It's doing something over and over consistently.
Every day. Yeah.
Yeah. If you go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Hey, you need to lose weight," people will think, "Oh, okay," and they'll go walk around the store or the mall or something. No, that's not what the doctor means. The doctor means get on a treadmill and you work out, I mean, you are exercising to where your heart rate is up, your legs are shaking, your face is red. And if you will do that consistently for a month, you will begin to see small changes. Mm-hmm. It's like diligence is the key. Mm-hmm. And I believe that even in our ministries. So whatever system a pastor uses, use it religiously, use it consistently. And it will absolutely, it's amazing how much we can get done. I can get so much done just by using one 50-minute time block every day, but I do it diligently. And so I, to be honest with you guys, I find myself looking for work. Mm-hmm. I'm so caught up at home.
That's so great.
That my wife is even loves this because to where she is now, she is, you know, she'll even find work for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, she'll remind me that doorknob needs to be changed in that room. But I mean, I have done things like I cleaned out the ceiling fans. I've actually dusted all those, cleaned them all. I washed every window in the house. I cleaned out closets. You guys wouldn't believe this. I actually pulled out pots and pans in my kitchen and reorganized the whole kitchen just by doing a 150-minute time block. Right. I've cleaned out the refrigerator. I can't tell you how many times. But because I do this consistently, I will do a 50-minute this afternoon. I'm going to go home and get my clock out, my timer. I'm going to start and I'm going to work the whole 50 on something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can even do things like cooking. You can, if you enjoy cooking and you want to do a 50-minute time block cooking, just find something and then take the rest of the evening off.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't do this, John, to get back to the day off, the Sabbath day.
Yeah.
I don't do this on my day off.
Okay.
I take that to be a day of rest.
Yep.
And I can truly rest because I know the projects are done. My sermons are ready. Right. You know, and at least this system has worked really well for me. Yeah. And so I wanted to share it with others.
Chad, it's brilliant. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Jim, you have another question for Chad? I know we're already, believe it or not, we're already pushing up against time again here, Jim. Yeah. But go ahead.
I think when you hear somebody say, I've got the system and it works, and you hear it and you go, that would work for me too. The next step is, how did you start? Like you read the book. You've obviously gotten better at it as you've used it, but what was the thing that tipped you over to actually take that 5 minutes to just write down where you could put 50 minutes at a time the next day? Like what would you say to someone who goes, Chad, that's great for you, but I got little kids. That's great for you, but I'm bivocational. That's great for you, but like something triggered this thing that works. You're trying to share it. But there are people out there just like, you know, it's the biggest resistance to what John teaches. It's a day off. The second thing would probably be exercise. You're doing both because you've embraced this. So this is a key to a lot of good things, but people are resistant to change. Neuron paths are burned. Habits are there. So convince them, preacher, preach the gospel of this 550 thing and convince them that they should start tomorrow.
Right.
What would you say to somebody?
Well, I would certainly encourage them to find something. And I've discovered that the 550s work so well. And like if you have kids, you could get up at a certain time. Like my wife and I get up well before the kids, and we will do devotions together. You could do a 50-minute time block doing devotions and prayer. You could exercise. We also do a 3-mile walk every morning, really early. We actually do it all winter. And we just got in the habit. And so I think that we can use this. To me, it's helped me so much with focus.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I would encourage pastors to at least use this or use something like it. It also has given me incredible energy. Because I'm working 50 minutes, but then I'm getting up.
Right.
I'm moving around. I would even, one of the things that Brendan Burchard teaches is the importance of taking deep breaths in. Deep breaths in. Oxygen actually gives you energy.
Yeah.
So moving around, taking deep breaths, and you will literally begin to feel energy returning back to your body. And things like that. And then I would say the third thing it's really helped me with is productivity. I've become a very productive person. It's helped me a lot. And so I would say those three things. It will help you to focus, it will give you energy, and you will become productive.
Right on. And it doesn't cost a thing, right? It's not like for $99 a week. This isn't a program. This is a habit. This is a rhythm, as John would call it. This is a rhythm. It's a rhythm that you found that works for you. And if it works for others, like you're saying, if it's 650s or if it's 630s or whatever it is, find a rhythm that you can develop so you can start living proactively versus reactively. That's brilliant.
And the importance of there's something about using the timer, for me at least.
Yeah.
You know, some people will look up at the clock and be like, okay, and they'll just look at it and say, I'll work till. There's something about when you push start on your phone. Yeah. That it just does something to me. I've actually done this for years. And I'm still using this timer. And it's just, it's a wonderful habit. It motivates me. Until I hear that timer go off, I will work the whole time.
I would presume that this is not a new rhythm, because when I was in school, you had first hour, second hour, third hour. You know, this time block this is not the first time in our life we'll be called to focus on something for this amount of time with a break, seeing friends, going to the bathroom, go to the next class. The bell rang. And it's funny because the bell rang, class started. The bell rang, class stopped. We really are Pavlovian. You know, we are conditioned to the bells of life. So I think you're really onto something, and I appreciate you sharing it with us here in podcast 137.
Well, I wanted to just say, if I can,
please,
one of the things I wanted to say, you know, since we're probably talking to a lot of pastors and church leaders, and you know, one thing I've learned is, like, on a Monday, I will do a 50-minute time block, reading the Bible, studying the scriptures that I'm going to be using in my message. I will look at commentaries, word studies for this next message. And I will literally take a 50-minute time block. And all I do is read that scripture, study it, look up words, commentaries, and that's all I'm doing for that 50.
Right on.
And then I will get up, move around, come back and do another 50 where now I will write out my outline. So I take the material, what I've studied, in the second 50 of the day, I will begin to form my outline for my message. And I will work on that until that timer goes off. Yeah, I understand some pastors work better. They kind of get in the flow of things, you know, your mind, and you really get in the flow of your message, and they don't want to stop. Even if the timer goes off, it's like, man, I'm feeling it right now. Yeah, I understand there are people like that. I'm not that way. I've kind of already been chewing on it for a while, the message that I'm going to be preaching. And so I really like to work in the time blocks of study, another block for outline, and then I will do a third 50 where I will write the content. I will fill in those sermon points. Then I could do a 50-minute time block where I will do illustrations and application, also a good introduction, and then a good conclusion.
I love it.
You know, and working really on those. So, you know, this works well for me. I will do 50-minute time blocks for a staff meeting, preparing for the meeting. We do another, I will do another on what's called CASP. It's Creative Arts Service Planning. We'll plan our service. And I will do a 50-minute time block just on creativity for the service. The videos I want to use, the visuals on the stage. If we want to hand out, we'll give out a token at the end of the service to help people, to remind them the whole week what I preached on. So if you preached on Jesus dying on the cross, you could actually hand out a nail to everybody at the church. Take this nail, put it somewhere that it can be a reminder to you of what Christ has done for you. And I will do a 50-minute time block like that. And so I just want to encourage pastors that this really can shape how you prepare for your messages. And I love it. And so one other thing, if I can, I know I'm giving you a lot here, is I like to prepare my sermons topics for the year. So I actually prepare all my sermon series and topics for the entire year.
Wow.
And one of the things that I do is I like to go to Traverse City. And this last year, I have a motorcycle. I have a Honda Shadow. This last summer, I packed a bag, all my stuff, and got on that motorcycle, went up to Traverse City, and I stayed in a hotel up there for 3 days. And all I did was I used these time blocks, 50-minute time blocks, to think through messages I'd like to preach. And then I begin to organize, and this 550 really helped me to do that. And then I had the whole afternoon and evening off, and I jumped on that motorcycle, and there's nothing like going all over up there, looking at the water. It was such and then even as I'm riding that bike, I could feel the presence of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And I loved it. And I want to encourage pastors, church leaders, to use the 550s to really help you, not just in your week, but also thinking out, being laser focused about goals you want to accomplish, sermon series you want to preach for the next however long. And I'm telling you, it is really transformed how I work in the ministry.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. I think as our listeners are hearing what you're saying, they're starting to realize why there's a church of 800 people in a town of 2,000. It's not an accident. It's a miracle, but it's a well cadenced miracle. All of this is a miracle. All of it is divine, but you're giving God a lot to use. So God's using it. I think that's brilliant. So thank you, Chad. Thank you, John, for inviting him. Thank you to our listeners and watchers for being a part of this. And that's our encouragement. There's no reason to be panicked on Saturday night trying to come up with something meaningful for the next day. There's no reason, why you have to buy 16 cords of wood when there's trees on your property. You just got to take the right amount of time at the right time to do it. Proactive living is very, very successful. Always has been, always will be. Reactive living, not as much. Give God something to bless anyway. John, if someone wanted to have a conversation with you about this or other topics, how would they do that?
Go to convergecoach.com and click the contact us link, and that will put you in touch with us, Jim.
That's a deal. Half hour for free just because we love you.
That's right.
Right on. Okay. Well, dear listeners and watchers, God bless you. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, John. Thank you, listeners. And we look forward to spending some time together again real soon as we all continue to lead from alignment.